Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to talk about something pretty big that's happening in the gaming world. We're looking at why some of the biggest names out there, platforms like Steam and Roblox, are suddenly facing this really tough new challenge. And it's all coming out of Turkey.
Okay, let's just dive right in. You could almost think of it like this. For these huge global gaming companies, Turkey has just dropped a brand new boss level. It's a whole new set of legal hoops they have to jump through if they want to keep operating like they always have. So the big question is, what does this new challenge actually look like?
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the new law itself. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the rules platforms have to follow. We'll meet the folks in charge of enforcing all this, see what happens if companies don't comply, and finally, we'll talk about what this could mean for the future.
All right, first up, the law itself. Now, it's really important to understand. This isn't some broad rule for every single game developer. No, this is a super targeted piece of legislation, and it's aimed squarely at the major players, the ones with a massive presence in the country.
And here's the magic number that triggers it all. This law only kicks in for foreign-based gaming platforms that have more than 100,000 daily users logging on from inside Turkey. That threshold immediately puts the huge companies, we're talking Steam, Epic Games, Roblox, right in the spotlight.
So if you're one of these big platforms, what does this new rulebook actually say you have to do? Well, it all boils down to 3 core obligations they now have to follow to stay in the game.
Rule number 1 is all about game ratings. The idea is to protect younger players. So platforms are now on the hook to make sure every single game they offer has a proper age rating. And if a game doesn't have one, well, the platform has to slap the highest, most restrictive rating on it by default. No exceptions.
Next up, rule number 2, you can't be a ghost anymore. These huge international companies can't just operate from thousands of miles away. They are now required to appoint a legal representative, could be a person, could be a whole firm, that is physically located right there in Turkey. This gives the authorities a direct, official person to talk to.
And the third rule is a really big one for parents. Platforms now must provide parental control tools that are super clear, easy to find, and easy to use. And the law specifically calls out in-game purchases, making sure parents have a way to control spending. Right, so you've got all these rules, but who's the ref? Who's actually going to blow the whistle if these platforms don't play by the new rulebook? So, meet the BTK. That's Turkey's Information and Communication Technologies Authority. You can think of them as the enforcers here. They're the government body that has the power to investigate these platforms, make sure they're complying, and most importantly, dish out the penalties if they're not. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, because Turkey didn't just create a rule with a fine attached. They built this whole escalating, step-by-step system of consequences that slowly but surely turns up the heat on any company that decides to ignore the rules. So check this out. It starts pretty simple. You get a formal 30-day warning. If that gets ignored, bam, the first fine hits, up to 10 million lira. If you ignore that, a second, even bigger fine comes down, up to 30 million. And if a platform still doesn't comply after all that, the BTK can go to court and get their internet bandwidth throttled, basically slowing the service down to a crawl for everyone in Turkey.
Yeah, let's just hang on that number for a second. 30 million Turkish lira. That's not pocket change, even for these massive global corporations. It's a number designed to get their attention and make them seriously think about the cost of not following the rules.
But here's the twist. This whole system isn't just about punishment. The law actually builds in this very clever off-ramp, a way for companies that might have messed up to get back in good graces. Let's see how that works.
And this right here, this tells you what the law is really all about. If a platform that's been fined and throttled finally decides to comply, 2 amazing things happen. First, the bandwidth restrictions are lifted instantly. But second, and this is huge, the government will only collect 25% of the fines they issued. It's this powerful message that says, hey, it's never too late to get on board.
So when you put it all together, what do you have? Turkey has built this incredibly thought-out, powerful system to regulate the biggest gaming platforms in the world. It uses escalating pressure, sure, but it combines that with this huge incentive to cooperate in the end. And that leaves us with one final, really important question. Could this be the blueprint? Is this the model that other countries are going to look to as they also try to figure out how to manage the global digital playground?